Isiah Pacheco is a Detroit Lion. Hayden, we saw just a couple days ago, David Montgomery traded the Houston Texans. There was a void next to, let's say behind, Jahmyr Gibbs in this backfield. What do you think the pairing is going to be like with Gibbs and Pacheco on this Lions offense?
I'm going to say not much of a pairing. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go absolutely crazy. I think this is, stylistically similar to David Montgomery for being generous, but this is a huge step down from David Montgomery in terms of vision, consistency, well-roundedness. Isiah Pacheco runs really hard. He sometimes runs really hard into the back of his own linemen. So I think this is just going to be as much Jahmyr Gibbs as we've ever seen in the NFL. I think that's going to be the focal point for the Lions, and Isiah Pacheco will be in there to, handle 5 to 8 touches rather than the 10 to 15 that David Montgomery would get.
So Isiah Pacheco in 2023 had a really solid season, 205 carries, 935 yards, 7 rushing scores. I mean, if you look at the underlying metrics, 13 carries of 15 plus yards, 45 missed tackles forced. And then, hey, we know what happened. I mean, in 2024, September, broke his right fibula. And then in also 2024, you had a chest/rib sprain pull. And he just hasn't been the same runner since that, early 2024 part of the season. I'm not going to say he was ever the most explosive, despite looking like no one runs harder in the league. He really hates the turf. He pounds his feet into it.
He does.
So for like a 7th round pick who, like you said, maybe lacks some vision, some real feel for the game, if you lose any percentage of that explosiveness or juice that we always talk about, then you're going to be like a tier lower as a runner. And you can go back to like the 2019, 2022, 2023 seasons for Pacheco. And I think the injuries are kind of just starting to wear down on him and to like debilitate his skills a little bit.
Yeah, over the last 2 years, there's been 72 qualifying running backs to have at least 100 attempts. He's 69th in yards after contact per carry, which is like his calling card. Everyone says he runs violently. Yards after contact is the violent stat that we should be talking about, and he just has not lived up to. I think a lot of it is just explosiveness. Like if he doesn't have good vision, you're gonna have to make up for that by like beating guys to the line if you've made a mental mistake, and he just like has not been able to do that. He's just not trusted either. Like there's a reason why Kareem Hunt was the short yardage guy in the offense. So I'm not even sure if he's going to steal goal line carries from Jahmyr Gibbs because he's just not trusted to hit the right hole. I think that's going to be the big downgrade for the offense, is just having that level of consistency for David Montgomery. He's not going to be ripping off big plays very often, but he was so reliable in the prime of his career. Now, I do understand why they wanted to get rid of David Montgomery. They got a real draft pick out of him, and they wanted to do right by David Montgomery. But I think more or less this is the offseason. It's like all of the chips are in the Jahmyr Gibbs basket, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, if you follow some of the reporting, and even I think some of this was dating back to last season, David Montgomery somewhat wanted to leave because he wanted more of a role. He wanted more touches. And if you go back to, the 2023 and even parts of the 2024 season, this truly was a 50-50 backfield split. I mean, both from a carry standpoint, from an inside the red zone standpoint, and even from a receiving game standpoint, the targets and the passing down snaps were nearly identical. But then we got into 2025, and granted, there was a play caller, and then, Dan Campbell took the clipboard and ran with it. But the snaps weren't even close anymore in so many games. I mean, week 1, when this is who you want to be, and it did not go well from a rushing standpoint. Against the Jets? Was that in week 1? I can't remember. Anyways, that was like 66% snaps here for Jahmyr Gibbs, down to 37% for David Montgomery. Their other games were at 66 and 38%, 73 and 39%. We even got games of 81 and 88% snaps for Jahmyr Gibbs. I would think it's going to be at least in that 66 to maybe even 75% range for Jahmyr Gibbs as we go along. And this honestly does nothing to deter me from the 101 selection being Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson. It's just these teams want some suitable runner behind their primary runners, and they just aren't confident they're going to be in a position to get that with how the board falls in the NFL draft.
Yeah, the NFL draft's pretty weak. I don't think that Isiah Pacheco is guaranteed to be the RB2 on this team either. I think there could be somebody else that kind of gets in there, whether that's a draft pick or otherwise. So yeah, he's the 101 or the 102 in fantasy drafts, depending on what the Falcons end up doing behind Bijan Robinson, but this is not scaring me off really at all. I will say the Lions also need to figure out their offensive line, and they've made some moves this offseason. They're going to have to figure out the left tackle spot too, with Decker leaving. I think they're very ripe for a left tackle at 17th overall, or maybe a right tackle and they flip over to Penny Sewell to the other side. But this team is a little bit off of where they were 3-4 years ago at the beginning of the Dan Campbell era, where their offensive line was really, really good. It's just not that right now. So that's like another thing that the Lions are trying to figure out. It's not just losing David Montgomery and the consistency. Just how well everything's blocked up right now is a step down where it was a couple years back.
And it's Drew Petzing coming in as a play caller as well. And we've seen up and down stylings of offenses with him in Arizona. To your offensive line point, remember Frank Ragnow out of nowhere retires prior to last season, and they tried to pull him back and that didn't work. And then you had them releasing Graham Glasgow. Then in the trade for David Montgomery, you're trading him away. You got Juice Scruggs in that, who's kind of going to be your utility interior player.
Backup,
and they signed Cade Mays as the starting center, who can be a bit of a road grader at the center spot. But it's that left tackle position. They really have no one. I mean, it's Giovanni Manu, who's a 4th-round pick from 2024, right now slated as a starting left tackle, and Taylor Decker, who they released probably because he wanted a bit more money. So that is probably the primary position they're looking the rest of free agency or in the NFL draft. And the whole thing, I'm not going to say the whole thing hinges on that, but if you have a major weak link at that position, it can kind of derail a lot of your plans.
Especially, with the whole Jared Goff career, especially that. Did want to mention, Cade Mays was a big like plus for the Lions. I thought that he came in at a really good price tag. Like he's like a third of the price of Linderbaum. He's probably half the player that Linderbaum is, but he fits what the Lions want to do. He's really thick. He's a mauler, like you said. Look at the Rico Dowdle games. So a lot of like gap scheme right at you, get nasty with it. That's the kind of center that they're bringing in there. I think that move is a lot more important than this Isiah Pacheco one's, like not even close. So that's going to help out Jahmyr Gibbs even more than having Pacheco be like a distant backup.
Yeah, Cade Mays is now center 9 in terms of money, $8.3 million per year. Came in behind Tyler Biadasz, who is now with the LA Chargers. Obviously, Connor McGovern got another deal with the Buffalo Bills. And the most underpriced player in the league right now is Aaron Brewer, who is only making a measly $7 million, $20 million less than Tyler Linderbaum per year.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't a big enough point that Tyler Linderbaum now is not just highest paid center in the league. He's the highest paid interior offensive lineman in the league. So eclipsing, the Tyler Smiths at guard and whoever else you want to throw out there too.
Yeah, it was really wild, that contract. The Biadasz signing and like the re-signing with the Bills and like this Cade Mays one, there's so much less than the Linderbaum contract, and a lot of those were signed before Linderbaum got his money, and those are looking like some of the best deals in all of free agency. Yeah, Linderbaum, I think it's like top 8 offensive lineman period, like versus tackles. So I mean, we haven't seen an interior offensive lineman really resign or sign a contract since the Linderbaum stuff. I'm sure every agent right now is trying to recalibrate exactly how valuable all these guys are.
Lions pick 17, pick 50, and then don't have a 3rd rounder, but do have 2 4ths at 118 and 128. So it'll be interesting to see what Brad Holm cooks up there. All right, that is going to do it for us. Let us know in the comments what you think, Lions fans, of the Isiah Pacheco signing. Plus, we got every single free agency reaction and trade down on the channel. So subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.